Hey y'all, so we're in Matthew 4, specifically most of it, but right up until about, right about to 11, 12, we're talking about this one. Now this is Jesus fasts 40 days and is tempted. So Jesus fasts for a long time, gets tempted by Satan, and this is how he reacts to it. So Jesus is led up by the Spirit into the wilderness, he fasts, so he's in that place of like spiritual growth and connecting with God and sort of just preparing, and Satan comes to him and says, if you really are the Son of God, make these stones into bread. And interesting, you notice here that Christ replies every single time by quoting scripture from the Old Testament. So essentially he's saying, these are my words that the people already believe. So good answers, right? So if you're ever faced with that kind of temptation and that kind of entity, quote scripture. They really don't like it. But he's like, man cannot live by bread alone. And it's true. Like, you don't just have like actual nourishment. You need spiritual nourishment. You need water. You need like goodness of all sorts to be able to survive. Like air, for one, It's not just bread. There's more to it than that. And then takes them up into the holy city, into the top of the temple, and he's like, look, if you just do this one big swan dive off the temple, land and glow, people are going to believe in you. And you're not going to have to do much. People are just going to know that it's you. And Jesus comes back to him, it's written to not tempt the Lord your God. Because he is still God over Satan. Don't forget that. And Satan thought of these like, oh, that didn't work, let's try again. So he takes him into a high mountain and showed him everything of the world. Now this is where it gets a bit weird, really, because he's showing him everything of the world that Jesus created in the first place. Like, come on, Satan, I thought you would have been smarter than this. And says to him, look, if you follow me, I'll give you all of this. And I can just imagine Jesus is probably tired and he's, like a bit worn, weary at this point. But can you, for me, I'd be thinking, it's not yours to give. Hello, that would be me. But Jesus says to him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. And patience with him the whole way. And you're trying to tempt Christ here. Like, come on. Anybody, So there's some really good examples there. But the thing is, and this is what Elder Bednar talked about, and I said that in the first one when we talked about this temptation that happens. It was a live Instagram, so if you've got Instagram, go look for that under Elder Bednar's account. If you don't have Instagram, find someone that does, and it's on there. It's just like a little Q&A thing that he does from time to time, answers questions, and this one was around the character of Christ, and he actually brought this example in Matthew in, and then I said look at Matthew 4 verse 11 in the Joseph Smith translation, because it says in the Bible, it says, this is after this had happened, and this is what we sort of know to be true, and this sort of expands a bit more on that for those that haven't read the footnotes or looked at this in depth. It says, then the devil left him, this is after he said, go away, depart sort of thing, the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. So from reading that, you would think Christ has had a really hard time, Satan's now gone, and all these angels come and go, oh, Jesus, let's wrap our arms around you and give you that strength back. And it's lovely, right? However, if you look at the Joseph Smith translation and the footnotes, it says, and now Jesus knew that John was cast into prison, and he sent angels. And behold, they came and ministered unto him, John, in brackets, and Jesus departed into Galilee. So what Elder Bednar was saying, and what is so true of Christ and the character of Christ, although he had been through all these hard things, his thoughts were not on himself. His thoughts were still on those he loved. They were on his family and his friends and his flock, his people, and that includes us. So no matter what bad thing Christ is going through, what's his primary thought? The rest of us. And he sent angels to minister to John, even in the midst of his hardship, and that's the character of Christ that we can focus on and look at, what we can learn from this about Jesus. But so he says, and I've written in my scriptures here, this is from Elder Bednar, Satan was tempting Jesus, the Creator, to lower himself, to have weakness and humanity, It wasn't about the bread, the comfort, or the attention. Yet it was about overcoming humanness, and that was Christ's thing, was to overcome that human body and that those human desires we have to be noticed, to be fed, to be have power and property and stuff. That's a human, mortal thing, and that was what was being tempted at him. And I mean, like Satan, bold and having a go, really, but not really going to work. So yeah, I would really go watch that, because Jesus sent help to others, not to take it himself. He was okay, but he was looking outward, not the woe is me mentality. And these are one of the Christ-like qualities. So, there's nothing wrong with taking help. Absolutely take help. But his first thought after all of that was that sense of, my friend, my wonderful companion who just baptized me is in prison. I'm going to send some help to him. And before he thought of, go and get some food, go and do this, and he just departs into Galilee and takes care of himself quietly, goes about quietly. And that's just a really beautiful characteristic of Christ that we can look at and the way that he is, and we can learn a lot about him, his ways, and how he does stuff just from that. So have a look at that. That is Matthew 4, verses 1 through to 12, and then it talks about what happened after that. So he goes for gratification in 3 to 4 with bread, immediate gratification. In verses 5 to 7, it's about making a big deal of yourself. And in 8 to 10, he's playing on that kingdoms of, you can have all the glory. So his gratifications, ease, and glory. Because his job would have been a lot easier if he was able to just show himself as the Christ and really just do the things, bigger miracles to more people. But that's not how people believe anyway. People's true testimonies are built on knowing him, and that happens bit by bit, not by the big grandiose stuff, and we know that. So honestly, really go if you haven't seen that from Elder Bednar, go look at it. It's amazing. Again, if you don't have Instagram, find someone who does, probably someone in the ages of 15 through 30. Some of your other friends might, but yeah, David A. Bednar, and then watch that. I think you'll really like it. All right, hang around, we're going to talk about some other points.